I am now going to go ahead and bring on our second presenter, which is Pam and Sean. Hi guys, are you going to turn on your mic and camera, please?
We hope.
Hi.
Hey, awesome. Hi, welcome guys. How are you tonight?
We're very good. How are you?
Really good.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. It's a good evening. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and start. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you working with? What are your background? Did you have any real estate experience going into this?
Would you like to go ahead and start? We're going to do this as a team because we work as a team on these houses.
I love it. I love it. Yes.
My name's Sean Duncan. I'm actually one of the vendors. I'm a CPA vendor for Lifestyles. And so I do a lot of the strategy consulting side of things. Yep.
Wait, Sean, I got a question for you. You're a CPA.
Yes, sir.
Right? Are you a good CPA?
That's what I'm told.
Oh, the guy in the room, Hannibal, he says you're an accountant anyways. He's from California. But here's how I can tell you're a good CPA. Roll up your arm. Do you have the credit and debit tattoos?
No, actually I have video game tattoos, Daredevil tattoo, and Star Wars tattoo.
Okay, well, Star Wars. That's okay.
I have good judgment. Sorry, David.
Awesome.
So I'm a CPA, but my specialty is business consulting and teaching and coaching. I happen to be insurance licensed and securities licensed as well. I've been teaching clients on real estate investment for decades, and we joined Lifestyles because so many of our clients were Lifestyles members. And the way you teach is the same stuff I was teaching on the business ops side, but the difference was you guys were getting into the details of how to actually execute. It's one thing for me to sit on my side and talk about structures and tax strategies and teach. It was a whole nother thing. But the thing was time, right? Digging in on time. And Pam was fascinated with all of it. And so she actually took the reins. I sit back and act as business advisor the same way I do a client. She's the one that finds properties, does the due diligence, works with the contractors. This is her show. I'm her wingman in this whole process.
And I get to take all my receipts and I hand it to him and he enters it into the books.
I love that. Yeah, and that's something we encourage when members join and we have the initial single family mentor meeting that both the husband and wife are coming along and work together. I think that is very effective, and that's the way I did it too. Okay, so tell us so you had your clients talking about Lifestyles Unlimited, but what actually made you join?
John Shirley yelled at me and said I had to be a vendor. No. I've talked to lots of folks that had different real estate schools and classes and organizations and have never joined one. And it was really, once we walked in and got to hear the way the information was being taught, it meshed with what I already knew to be true. It gave the extra details and fills the gaps. And I will say the vendor program is an extremely, extremely powerful resource.
And I think, from my side, because I'm the one who's watching all the emails, analyzing the deals as they come through and doing the actual execution of it, that the Lifestyles model of having mentors I can go to talk to, as well as all the resources and the vendor list and the training, helped get me up to speed very quickly, because I bought 3 houses within less than 2 months, and I would not have been able to scale up that way if we had not, joined Lifestyles.
Well, let me point this out. We're in North Dallas. The 3 houses are in Houston.
Oh, wow.
The execution of that was even more important to have that team around us, because we're not driving down there every weekend to go mess around with them.
No, and that's going back to, we're going to talk about this later, but about having your team and having the skill to kind of, from the mentor up in Dallas, and then we have all the vendors and team down here to help you guys. So that's effective. Okay.
And one thing really quick, they're in Dallas and Houston. This is hours and hours apart, just so you understand. So it doesn't matter if you're out there listening tonight, you're in California and we're buying in Houston. It works the same way. We have members doing that all the time. And this is a good example of it. Buy where the deals made sense. They decided Houston deals made more sense for them, so that's where they bought them. And that's why we're showing those tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So Pam and Sean are up in Dallas today, utilizing our Dallas team. We also have national mentor for people who are out of state that could help you on the single family side. So we got you all covered. Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about Millgate Drive. So first of all, how did you find this house?
This house, well, let me kind of step back a little bit. So we bought the first house in Kingwood, so that's a northern suburb of Houston. And I drove down there one weekday to go look at this new house I bought that I didn't even see like in person at all, not through video. I saw pictures and I saw the numbers, that came through the email blast. I was like, cool, I'll buy it, just kind of like, I felt confident enough after watching all the training and talking to everybody, I felt confident enough, I'll just buy it. So one day I drove down there and I was like, hey, John Johnson, who is one of the Lifestyles realtor, I reached out to him and said, hey, while I'm down here, I want to go look at a couple of other houses. So we went and looked at a couple of other houses on MLS, and I bought one within 10 minutes of walking inside of it. So that was my second house immediately. And then the third house was on another visit, and walked in and said, okay, after maybe 5 minutes on that one, you get faster and faster with this as you go. So the next house, I said, you know what, we're going to put an offer on this one too.
And they had not started construction on the first two, they had just started figuring that out. So we have the first two under contract. We're working out the details with the contractor to get started. And oh, by the way, here comes the third.
So put an offer in for the third, and unfortunately it wasn't accepted. And John was just about to do an email blast, and he said, you know what, you lost this third one. Do you think you would be interested in this house over on Millgate? And I said, well, we're here in town. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. And so we drove by, I looked at it, and we were in there for like maybe 10 minutes. And we're like, okay, we're buying this one too. So it just kind of all happened all at once.
It's like Pringles chips. You can't eat just one. You have to eat the whole can.
And and it gets easier. Like the first house, I was really scared, and I kept looking at the numbers and I kept thinking about it. It really took a long time actually for me to kind of build up that courage.
It took you a while in that 5 minutes or 10 minutes to make the decision.
But yeah, after that, it just got easier. So
yeah. But really, you took your emotion out in the end, and the numbers told the story, correct?
Exactly, right. And that was the deal, right? The first one, you're kind of still emotional. But after that, once you get through that first process, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? I can look at this. I got more confidence in looking at the numbers and looking at it as a business transaction.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. So we are going to look at some pictures of the house. So tell us, what kind of rehab did you do with this house?
So this house is really interesting because when we walked in, this guy had 7 cats and 5 or 6 dogs. And this poor guy, I think he had really good intentions, but he wanted to upgrade his house, but do all the work himself. So you can see in that before picture, I mean, the walls, he kind of sort of started to do walls, but he never finished it. He took out all the flooring in his living room, intending to do it, but never did it. He had tiles that he just kind of laid onto the floor, but never grouted it or tried to affix it to the concrete slab. The house was just in kind of just this whole weird various stages of remodel that he just never did. And it smelled like, animals. So, David, the best houses smell like cat piss. So
yes.
Yeah. Smell of money.
Remember that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely did.
Smells like money, and everybody else said it smells like something else.
It was a 4-bedroom, but all 3 spare bedrooms had at least 2 kitty litter boxes in each room.
Okay.
All right. Those are like snack holders, right?
There you go. So I see that you made it beautiful. You actually kept the kitchen countertops, right?
Yeah, we kept a lot of the kitchen. That was kind of the one area that he did do kind of good on. The appliances were still relatively new, so we were able to save money on that. And they were stainless steel, so that was nice. We kept the cabinets as they were. We added some lights. We took away some of the ugly things that he had in there. And then we put in new flooring. And this individual, I mean, like I mentioned, he had really good intentions. He wanted to remodel himself. So a lot of the materials were there as well. So the flooring that you see there, he had it in his garage. One day he thought to himself that he would do it, but he never got around to it. So We had that flooring. We had this nice, pantry door with the glass that said pantry, really cute on it.
Okay.
This is actually the set. Two of our 3 houses already had pallets of flooring laying in the house that somebody didn't install. So we just got that as part of the deal. So new flooring was on the way, needed to be put down.
Yeah, okay. And a little bit of bathroom there. So did you do any big ticket items? Did you do any roofing, AC, something like that?
On this house, no, but there was just a lot of cleanup. We did have to do some foundation work. It was a couple of thousand. And there were some things that we had to do, like the bathrooms, because he intended to get around to it. But as you saw, the windows were boarded up, the walls were never completed, no flooring, just various things that were very dated.
And I know a bunch of folks are going to ask this question. You're all the way up there in Dallas. This property's all the way down there in Houston. How did you do all that rehab work?
Mondell Corbett did it all. So I just came down and we came down every once in a while just to see how the work was going, because these are our first investments. But yeah, we just kind of walked in. Now, the first slide that introduced us, you saw my kids. So we have 3 children, and we believe that they do have to kind of pay their dues a little bit and learn how to do this. So we did put them to work. They power washed the first house and driveway. What else did they do? They fixed the fence. They did a few other things just to kind of get their hands. So,
does your husband refer to your children as tax deductions?
No, they're not as good of deductions as they should be. Now, when I put them to work in my company, then they become tax deductions. That's a whole different strategy. Yes, you can hire your kids at the age of 0 in Texas. That's an allowable law.
Really?
Awesome. I'll have to talk to you about that then.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at the numbers.
I just
And
want to comment. I appreciate the comment. It doesn't say the name. I just see Q. So thumbs up for whoever said that.
Oh, I do want to mention here though, so this house, there is a gas line that goes through the middle of the property in the backyard.
Oil pipeline.
Oil pipeline. So you see this like a rusty pipe that's sticking up out of the ground, and like it is about to fall over. If you look at the very bottom of it, like it's just hanging by a thread. And there's this huge sign that like just screams oil pipeline. So all I did was call the oil company and asked them to go ahead and cut that pipe that you see on the left side. And I asked them to bring down the sign below the fence line. And sorry, the little red squares don't align to the right places, but oil company was easy to work with. And apparently in spring, there's a lot of oil pipelines running through properties.
yeah. But you did know this before you bought it, right? So you know.
No, we didn't know it.
It was actually buried in weeds. We didn't see it. And then once they cut it back, we could see the little tetanus shot waiting to happen.
Yeah. And you fixed it anyway, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go through the numbers. So bear in mind, people, this house did not take that much of a rehab. You've seen the pictures. So bear that in mind when I read these numbers. So the purchase price for this house was $120K. And it appraised for 173. That left Pam and Sean with an equity at the day of closing of 53K. The rehab was 32,000 and closing cost just under 10. That leaves a net equity of 11,406. Cash out of pocket, and that is not a typo, is 6,290 with a return on gain of 181%, which is stunning. They are getting $1,500 in rent per month. That is $18,000 a year. They have a cash flow of $377, $4,500 per year, and that is a cash-on-cash return. And I love this number, 72%, which is amazing. So congratulations, guys, you did a great job. This is awesome numbers. So are these numbers similar to what it was when you looked at the house? What happened?
It exceeded our initial quest. So
they were very conservative, the numbers when you first got it?
Yes, and actually, the rent, we were thinking it was going to be $1,400 on the original quest. And, you know, by the time we were done with rehab, I think rehab was only about 4 weeks. But by the time we were done with everything, I looked at the rent around in the area and I was like, you know what? I think we could probably rent this out for $1,500. So we actually got more on our cash flow than I originally expected. And it was only 2 weeks to rent it out.
And universally, I mean, you always want to be conservative. I know you're shocked to hear a CPA would be conservative, but if you're lying to yourself and trying to fool yourself that it's going to be a winner every time, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. We went into this thinking, hey, this is kind of nice. It'll be a neat deal. Knowing where the upside was.
We don't want to go for a home run. Yeah.
But when you walk out of it and you've got 5 figures more of equity in the thing than you anticipated, and then because the valuation came up higher is part of why the hard money, that question was there. That's why our out-of-pocket came down, as we ended up not needing as much because the valuation of the loans worked out fine.
Yeah.
Not every deal's that way, but if you walk in conservative, you open the door to those opportunities.
Yeah, and that is so, I agree completely. And that is something that we teach our members all the time, that run the numbers conservative. It's better to get surprised in a positive way than a negative way. And it all goes back to Dale's rule, don't lose money, right? You need to make sure that you keep that rule, that don't lose money, and it must cash flow. So we run the numbers conservative, and then we sometimes get a pleasant surprise of $6,200 out of pocket for a house. So yeah, so okay. So
wait, they're making over 100% return, Evelina.
I know.
And I gotta see if Pam and the accountant know the technical term for it. Can you say it on the count of 3? Do you know what that is when you make over 100% return? 1, 2, 3.
Being your pants excited.
Thank you.
Every time. Okay. So tell us, like we said, you're up in Dallas, hours away. So who's on your team? Who helped you make this happen?
I love this. So we have my Dallas, unfortunately, I didn't get to put his name down, but I do have a Dallas mentor up here with me, and his name is Chris Wyatt. And we also have this, yes, we also have our South Texas mentor team. So I would write emails specifically about Houston questions. The agent, John Johnson, has been amazing and put up with me as I sent him MLS listings that I find as well to help me out with that and helping me with this particular deal. General contractor is Corbett, and they've done all 3 of my houses. And I think some of the things that really make it easy is that when you have a good team, stick with your good team, because you know how they work and they know what I like and I know how they work. And, you know, it makes it so much easier to be able to manage this remotely. So by the time we got to the 3rd house, I mean, I really didn't have to do anything with Mondell and his team. I was like, go do it. You know what I like. Just make it light and bright for me. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Hard money lender is Catalyst, and they helped me with their refi, with my refi, and their refi conventional loan side is SNMC. So I went with them just to make it easy. And shout out to Ernest Powell. He is my loan officer. And kind of a funny story is that when I first started with the first house on the hard money, I was like, look, Ernest, I have no time for this. I'm just going to send you all my documents that you need, and you just need to help me figure out where it goes, help me like fill out the forms or whatever you need, because I'm just going to give you all my documents. And he is such a trooper. He did it all. He would just say, hey, I need this form, and he handled everything for me. So one of the things that, you know, Dave also teaches is that, you know, our loan officers should be helping us. To get that business. That's part of their job. And Ernest truly went above and beyond, as well as Mondell.
And you might imagine, I work with a lot of bankers in my career. Wade and his team and Ernest, they really do. There's a difference between actually helping people out and just throwing paperwork at them. And they really did. They stepped up big time, because I don't have time for that. I've got a firm to run. We've got clients across the nation that I'm running and gunning. Even if this turns out to where she can quit her job, I'm not. I love what I do. I get a kick out of teaching people. It's like Dell. He likes to teach people. I love to teach people. So that's my jam. That's what I get into. They have made her life so easy, because
I was working a full-time job, so you know, I didn't have time to sit there and babysit all the different forms and everything that was needed.
And I didn't have to get pulled in, which is even more important.
And that's folks that are listening, they both have full-time jobs, right?
Yeah.
And they're
More than a
making this
full-time
happen. So I don't want to hear excuse you don't have time for it, so they can both do this, okay?
Exactly.
Also, kids.
We, of course, you know, my accountant CPA is Sean with SMD Accounting, one of the vendors. He also does a great job. And
She doesn't pay her bills on time. I'm working on that one.
And the OmniKey helped us lease out this house. So, you know, it took 2 weeks to get this house leased out.
Yep.
And it could have probably been done sooner. It was probably really on my end that I didn't get them the paperwork that they needed sooner, but they did a great, fantastic job as well.
Good.
Awesome.
Okay. So how has lifestyle changed your life? What is the biggest change that you guys feel you had after joining and starting buying single family?
I think it gave me confidence to invest in real estate. I mean, I bought 3 houses in less than 2 months. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
So for those that are listening that already know me or have talked to me or watched some of my my webinars and stuff, I'm a planner. My mind is about where are we going, what are we trying to accomplish in life, and so these are massive stepping stones in what we're wanting to do. It mentions on there we're going to start our 4th house. Actually, this morning she was finalizing some paperwork to get moving on one. But a lot of it is that cabin in Colorado. You can 1031 into that playhouse too with a little bit of VRBO to make it look like business. We've got a bigger picture strategy that we're building, and these are stepping stones to build us toward that path and what we're doing. So I love that she can do this, fly solo, come to me with the questions on my accounting nerd stuff. I can keep doing what I do and as a firm, and all the plans just keep moving faster and faster and faster for us.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I like is one thing I teach. The first thing I do when I start teaching a seminar, it's not about money, it's not about this. What is your why? What is your big, hairy, audacious goal? And you guys have that. And that's the goal, is how do we get there? Now, what little steps to get there? I love that you're covering that. So that's good.
Yeah.
All about goal setting.
Yeah. So what about next? You are moving forward your 4th house, but what's after that?
Go ahead.
So I think we're wanting to continue investing in properties. You know, I think we have a couple of different things that we're looking at. One is investing in multifamily for the passive income, right? Truly passive. But also 1031 exchanging into, I have lots of like ideas. We want a vacation home. We want a retirement home. I want to do so much, and we love traveling. So that's a big driver for us as well, is just being able to not have to worry about, are we dipping into savings, or are we going to be able to have enough money to travel and go on our vacations and support our lifestyle. Plus we have 3 kids that we had to put, you know, help put through college and sports and everything else like that costs money with them. And, you know, we have one that's a teenager, so he is eating like way too much.
Great.
And a lot of it is really, it's just about whatever goals we set, we can accomplish. And it says financial freedom, but travel. Some folks that know me have talked to me. I have a business plan that involves working 4 hours a day, traveling 2 months a year, and not even thinking about money as a conversation, because it's just a thing. And we were already well on our way. This just hit the fast forward button. I mean, we were already doing great.
Yeah.
And then and that's sort of the difference. There's the, oh my gosh, I've never done this before. I have no idea what to do, and now I've opened new opportunities. Even if you're successful, you're a medical practitioner, and you're like, okay, I got to leverage better. It works no matter where you are in a status in life. Real estate is always part of an amazing portfolio and building freedom, and that's just really what it's doing. It's hitting our fast forward button on all of our goals.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All about lifestyle.
You ready for some questions?
Bring it.
Okay, David, you want to bring them? Here, let me give you the microphone. He's old, so you got to get close. Spectacles.
Oh my gosh. So did you, and you might have mentioned this, did you find the property with Lifestyles Unlimited Realty?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Do you have any problem getting the property? Was there a lot of competition you were able to find to get the property that you wanted?
For this particular property, no, there was no competition.
Okay.
Other properties there are.
Yes.
Yeah, there's still competition. It just depends on, they all have their own little flavor.
Our very first one, I mean, I had actually been for like 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, consistently checking my email every 2 minutes. And at work, I'd be sitting in a meeting, refreshing my screen and looking for for the next email blast. And I was so disappointed because like over and over and over again, like, you know, I didn't get to be the first person. And if I was the second person, they say, oh yeah, the first person, you know, took it sight unseen. So I was super excited for our very first one. And I was like, yay, we're number one.
I love that you're saying that. That's like a lot of new members that can't call me after a couple of weeks. Can never get a house. I can never get a house. You need to do some legwork. You need to keep going, and then suddenly the snowball effect is going to come in. So I love that.
There's two sides to that too. Is a lot of people will say they can't ever get a house because I can't stop work to go look at it as fast as they need it, and maybe that's true. But the other side is that don't just buy a house because you want a house. Don't take one. It's always still about the numbers. It's like playing poker. You fold bad hands. You only play the good hands. And you filter for what your want is. Our want is cap gain. Cash flow is important, but not the driver. We go for the high cap gain and the smaller cash flow because it's a different goal. Yeah. But we play to our numbers. We stick with our numbers. We actually just walked away from a deal because the numbers turned upside down as we got in there and did due diligence. But keep consistent, keep trying. You're going to keep missing. It's okay. Just keep going, keep going. And that, if you say I can never leave work to go check on a house, never is a strong word. It's not an accurate word. There is going to be that wild Wednesday where you have a meeting canceled and you're going, oh my gosh, now's the moment. It does happen, absolutely.
And part of it is, where do you place, you know, your priority? If you really want to make this happen, you will make it a priority and make it happen.
But I want folks to understand this. You bought 3 properties, correct?
Yes.
And how big of a time period?
I think it was over 4, wait, no, so it was 5 or 6 weeks. It was close to 2 months because I bought one in November, actually closed in December. And while we were down there, because we just closed, that's when I looked at another house in the neighborhood, and that's the one I bought within 10 minutes.
During the pandemic stuff, correct?
No, this was at the end of last year and into January.
We were leasing during the pandemic.
This time period.
Yeah, so we were able to rent out the house.
They're saying, oh my gosh, it's other people. They still were able to get 3 properties in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We almost ended up with 5. It was getting a little dicey there.
See, it's addictive.
I was going on a spending spree. Like I said, like once you get that first one, it like the second and third one starts to roll a little easier.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Getting in a full shoes.
Okay, I got a lot of other questions. First of all, just one sentence. What was your 30-year mortgage that you refied into? What's your rate on that?
So we did that right before COVID. So interest rates were still high. So that was at 4.6 at refi. So we have to wait 6 months before we can refinance it. So October in my calendar, I already have it marked in October when 6 months comes up to touch bases with Ernest Powell, my lender, to refinance that.
And they did just announce that they're probably not going to be raising the Fed rate for at least a year. So the rates should stay low. Wow.
Yeah.
Here's a good question. Were you able to use hard money on the second and third house when you were still finishing up the first house?
Yes.
So this is specific to your terms. So they have a great connection with the lender. This is why you need to reach out to them and make sure that you're good to go. So this is going to vary from person to person.
Yeah, the conventional side is starting to get harder with the third house for the refi. So I had to get a lease in for the first house before I could refi the third house.
And if you're new to this, don't worry. I'll teach you about debt to income ratio. I'll teach you about all that stuff in the summer. I'll break that down.
Why did you choose Houston as opposed to Dallas?
The deals are much better in Houston. And let me also preface that the first 2 houses were homes that were flooded. So they were 2 houses up in Kingwood. And so the cap gain on those houses were amazing deals.
So just so folks understand markets, what their goal is big equity, big capital gains. So they want that flooded fixer-upper. While other people up in Dallas say, hey, here's higher cash flow, I'm making $600 a month. everybody listens differently. So what's right for them might not be right for you. So don't say, well, they did Dallas bad. Doesn't mean that. It just means their goals are different. Everybody's different. So, and that's why I like that he put that out. Here's my goal, equity capture. So now I know why they did that. Okay.
Great. And so someone asked, why'd you buy a house that needs to be refurbished? And I'm just going to answer that. That's because of the equity capture.
The reason they want to do that, they want to make a crap ton of money. Is that a technical accounting term, crap ton of money? That's why they did that.
Well, there's an S version of it, but yes.
Did you place the home in an LLC or you buy them in your personal names?
You still buy them in your personal name because you can't get the Fannie Mae loan personally in a business. Now, everybody, and this is an important factor, everyone has a different strategy. And this is where my whole world comes in. We do have LLCs. And depending on that person, my strategy versus your strategy, the LLC may or may not fit. So it's not an all or none. Depends on your world and what your world looks like. In our case, we bought them individually, and that's the best way to get the rates. And then depending on the rest of it.
So you know, folks, I will explain why we don't put them in LLCs and how we mitigate a risk for the insurance. It's for tax reasons, and also, like they said, this loan is personally recourse to you. Some folks do on sale clause. I don't want to get into that right now, but that's why we don't buy them in LLCs houses. Okay.
Are you worried about your property in Houston flooding? How do you work that out?
Well, these two properties are homes that had never flooded before until 2019. And the cause, I've been told, is because of Perry Homes doing some development work over there and didn't properly clean or like dredge or do something with whatever it was with the lake.
They were developing an entire subdivision next to this neighborhood, and they threw all their construction debris in the drainage. So a neighborhood that never floods because the drainage would have pulled the water away, couldn't pull the water away. So the neighborhood flooded twice in 6 months because of the 2 hurricanes that hit. Otherwise, it would have never been a problem. So it's just one of those things. People got terrified of flood. We jumped in and went, this has never flooded before. Bottom, got the cap gain.
And down here in Houston, always have flood insurance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's insurance.
Yeah, one of the homes was in a flood zone X, so not one that is supposed to be flooded, and one it was in a flood zone, supposedly in a flood zone, not a major one. So I went ahead and bought flood insurance even on the one that was in a flood zone X because of the area. So
yeah,
consider that.
Never lose money. How do we lose that money? Because that's why they got insurance. It covers it for the what ifs.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, folks. Thank you so much for giving back. You guys did an excellent job. I hope you inspired some folks. It's awesome.
Thank you, guys.